One of the biggest problems I think when it comes to beginner creators is people just don't care. It sounds really harsh, but I think a lot of it is down to one very specific problem that the majority of beginner creators share. Ideas, and in the least harsh way that I can possibly say, the ideas just aren't good enough. A good idea almost trumps any other aspect of creating. And if you pair a good idea with good execution, that is a recipe for something huge. If you can pull this off, I honestly don't see how you won't build an engaged audience in a short amount of time. But what if all your ideas are bad? And for the love of YouTube God, you can't come up with that next big idea. Here's what you can do about it. I'm gonna show you my actual ideation process and what I do to come up with YouTube video ideas, as well as 3 little exercises that you can try to get those creative juices flowing. And I love these little exercises. They are super fun to do, and it's a really nice way to just get those ideas going. So stick around for those little exercises that you will be able to apply to your own ideation process right now. The first thing that I focus on is to spend more time coming up with good ideas. The more ideas you can come up with is directly proportionate to the quality of ideas that you put through into the creation process of filmmaking. It's like a vetting process, and only the best of the best, the little gold nuggets of ideas, get put through into the actual creation process. If you struggle to come up with good ideas consistently, it's not an idea problem, it's a volume problem. So how do you actually come up with good ideas? And let me just crush some dreams here. Coming up with ideas in things like ChatGPT is not going to be it. You're going to end up with the same generic bullshit that everyone else is getting because it's drawing from all of the information that's already been created on the internet. And one of the aspects of ideation that I focus on the most is coming up with unique and original concepts that I can share to viewers. Because what do you think happens when someone clicks on a video that your idea has already been shared by so many other people, and most likely anyone that's watching your channel watches other channels within that niche, and they've probably seen another 20 videos covering the exact same topics or revolutionary game-changing things that you're about to share. That is an incredibly different relationship that you will have with the viewer when they click on your video than if you share something that is completely unique, or as at least as best of your ability to be original and unique, or at least putting a unique spin on the idea or the way that you present the idea to that viewer. That is going to build repertoire with your viewers, knowing that they can rely on your content for unique and original things that they probably don't already know from the countless other creators in the same niche as you in the YouTube sea. Look, I can come up with thousands of filmmaking tip ideas right now, but do I turn all of these into videos? No, because I feel like the majority of them are overdone and less valuable to the person that's going to be watching the video. Is everything that I share on my channel completely original and unique to me? Of course not. But I do my absolute best to come up with things that are at least somewhat original and unique, or at least from my perspective that I can share them to people. And that is the time slot that I'll delegate to the ideation process, probably higher than any other aspect of it. How do I actually approach the ideation process though? I will start by writing down titles for videos, anything that sounds interesting or enticing. And I'll do it on a platform called Millernote. You can use whatever you want. You can grab a book and write them down if you want. Now, if you look at any one of these folders, they are kind of idea titles. And within a lot of these folders, there's also like 100 other title ideas written down. Some with just brief title of something that I think a YouTube video could be called. Some with a few paragraphs written out, or a bunch of different tips that I would like to share. It's kind of a whole mixed bag of different things here that I'll just think of randomly. I'm pretty obsessed with this whole content creation, filmmaking space, and my mind is thinking about it almost all of the time. So I'll also have like a notes app on my phone. I'll also just write down these random titles or mini sentences and paragraphs. I'll kind of just dump everything on here throughout the day. The actual coming up with ideas process isn't really done by sitting down and going, I'm gonna come up with 10 really good ideas right now. At least for me, that isn't really how it works. If you're enjoying some of these techniques, this is a tiny piece of some of the modules that I've included in my full-time YouTuber program. It's basically an everything content creator mastermind, from things like marketing strategies, ideation, the actual filmmaking process, how to be confident on camera, how to script videos, editing, everything in between, how to post videos, thumbnails. Like, it's literally everything that I've learned over the last decade of being a full-time content creator, all put into one little place for you to conveniently consume and give yourself the best chance of becoming a full-time content creator, if that's something you're interested in. The waitlist is open right now. It's very limited, unfortunately, because anyone that does get accepted, I work directly with them to ensure that they have the most insane results that we can get from them. But apply for the waitlist and hopefully you can get accepted as well. So for me, coming up with ideas is actually quite easy. As I'm going about with my day-to-day life, I'll just be like, bam, that's a sick idea for a YouTube video. Oh, what about this title topic for this super intriguing concept that I could make an entire video idea out of? I totally understand that for some people it's not easy and it's very hard to come up with certain ideas that you feel are good enough. So let's look at a couple of different ways that you can do this. And one of these is by being influenced by other creators. This can be within your own little niche, but it can also be from a parallel niche. And that's going to give you a great angle to kind of adapt something that's going to be more unique, like we spoke about earlier. Because if it's taken from something without your niche, maybe not everybody within your field has already done something similar. So it can really give you that kind of little unique edge to draw inspiration from a parallel niche within the YouTuber space and then kind of translate it into your own niche and your own style of content. It might look something like this. So I make filmmaking videos. I might see something on a car channel that was like the one thing my car modification was missing. Then I can go like, oh, nice title concept. And I could go, the one thing my camera setup is missing. The one thing small creators are missing for growth. The one setting ruining your videos, whatever. You get the idea, but it's that overall concept that you can funnel into a further idea later on. Maybe it's a finance channel and it's something like the new way to run Facebook ads in 2024. And then I could go, the new way to create cinematic videos in 2024. The new way small creators are getting views in 2024. You can just take the ideas, the rough concepts, and change it and adapt it to fit with your style of content. Then, of course, the harder part is to actually back up whatever it is that you're saying with real tips or techniques that can help the viewer get to that point that you're saying in that title. So I'll have another folder that I write down random thoughts or tricks and tips that I feel people could benefit from learning. And I'll kind of try and pair those with the different video title ideas once I pick a title that I'm gonna actually go ahead with. Maybe you have a 4x4 channel where you build 4x4s and take them on cool trips, whatever. You think of some important things. So maybe what's the number one most important modification for your 4x4? You can write down what that modification would be, the actual thing that you've thought of as a useful tip for creators, and you can start to garner hundreds of different little ideas, different little tips. What's the best modifications for my car? What's the number one accessory you can't have when doing a 4x4 trip? Have those ideas already, and not just the titles. I'm talking about having the actual tip or the idea, not a good title now. So you're on a trip and you go, damn, this accessory is actually the best accessory that I need for 4x4s. Damn, this is the one modification that I would recommend to any 4x4 person. I don't know how I would do this trip without it. That's your tip idea. Then you have your title idea later on down the line. We pair those two things together, or one title idea with multiple tips, if that's your structure. And you end up with different folders or lists or books with hundreds of different title ideas and hundreds of different tip ideas that you can kind of slot together and pair later on to fit with each other in a really nice cohesive way. Some of you might know I like to batch create my content, which is when I'll do everything in batches instead of doing one part of the creation process at a time. So the ideation batch part for me doesn't really look like sitting down and going, I'm gonna write down a whole bunch of videos now. It more looks like going through the list of countless ideas I have, picking out the absolute little gold nuggets, and then deciding which ones I'm gonna push through into the creation process, and then actually building out those ideas with the tips that I can match from a separate list and pairing them with each one of those things before going into the next part of the batch creation process, which is script writing, and then I'll actually write out those video idea and different tips and everything for that specific title or enticing concept that I originally came up with randomly when I was walking outside. So that's pretty much my process. So let's look at 3 really fun little exercises and ways that you can get your ideas and creative juices flowing to help you come up with these different titles and tips. The first one I want to talk about is the what if method. So the problem is when coming up with ideas, I think if you're sticking too closely to what has already been done, it can almost stifle creativity. If you start to ask yourself, what if questions related to your niche, for example, what if I applied advanced filmmaking techniques to something like vlogging? That's a whole genre in itself now, being cinematic vlogging. Or another one, what if I explained this complex idea in the simplest way possible? This method can lead to innovative ideas that break away from the kind of normal things that people are thinking of. The next method is analyzing your most engaging content. So the problem a lot of beginner creators have is that they don't really pay any attention to their analytics from prior projects that they've uploaded and ignore all of the feedback that they might be getting from things like comments or those direct analytics showing how interested people were in certain topics and ideas. So I would suggest looking at your recent videos and seeing which ones had the most amount of interest and engagement, whether it's through shares or comments or just your video stats, and analyze what you think might have made those topics interesting. And then try and expand on them or find different ways to approach those same ideas presented in kind of a different way. This can help you tap into content ideas that has already proven to resonate with your viewers. The third little exercise is to embrace random creativity. Personally, I find it almost impossible to sit down and go, I'm gonna come up with ideas now. Relying too much on like structured brainstorming can sometimes limit spontaneous ideas. Something I like to do instead is keep my notes app on my phone. I could get a little notebook that I can write down my ideas, or have this Millernote board or any sort of note system on your laptop that you can just randomly throw ideas onto when they come to you. I might be doing the most random things like cooking some food, going for a walk, doing some exercise. Maybe I'm thinking of one idea and I think of a different idea. Maybe I'm filming a video like this right now and I all of a sudden come up with idea. Boom, let me write that down, 666, put it in my titles folder or put it in my tips and ideas folder, and I can come back to it later on. So let ideas flow freely, and when you're passionate about something and you are all consumed by it in an unhealthy way like I might be, then I think if you're thinking about something that often and you're living in the thing that you're doing, experiencing it and seeing what you do, I think that makes it a lot easier to come up with ideas. The same as our car guy, when he's fixing his car or thinking, damn, you know, I actually need this other modification, he might go, ooh, that's a really cool idea for a video topic. Let me quickly write it down on my little note. And that is going to be my ideation process and how you can come up with better ideas to ensure that you get more engagement and build a more engaged audience over time. Remember, if you want to see maybe how I come up with ideas and what I do on a daily basis, I have a vlogging channel that recently launched and I've been pumping out videos on there. People are loving it. So that's going to be linked in the description. Other than that, have fun. Bye.